Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, few days ago, he told members of parliament in a televised program that for Ethiopia, access to the sea is a matter of existence. Now, this latest statement comes after months where he reportedly said also in this summer, Ethiopia will secure direct access to port peacefully or, if necessary, by force. Now, it is these statements that are building speculation and have therefore spiraled around the Horn of Africa or on social media. Or in the Horn of Africa region about what exactly Ethiopia plans to do in the coming future. Now, these are the questions I would like, this is related to this. I would like to look at what I'm going to say next. And it's literally as per my reading. Okay, it's as per my understanding. So in this presentation, I would like to look at or answer some of the questions from my understanding. For example, number one, is the prime minister statement, is it directed really at Eritrea as it is spiraling in the social media? If so, how is it related? Yes or no? How so? What are the main issues that is allowing for everybody to speculate? What is it lacking? What is the problem? Another question I'd like to look at is that why a sea is a priority for Ethiopia, or if you wish, as the Prime Minister put it, why it is access to a sea is a matter of existence for Ethiopia. Another question that I would like to look at or answer in this presentation is that what are the alternatives? It's again my understanding, in the way of going forward. What are the options? So these are the things I would like to look at from, as per my understanding. Now, what is the issue? What has been spiraling? Now, Prime Minister Abiy in his speech, as open as it is, if you really take it literally in that statement, okay, access for a sea is a matter of existence for Ethiopia, with all, taking out all the texts, it will be very open, it lacks perspective, and it will be only for the consumption of the media, for everybody to literally, it will be open for any interpretation. And therefore, that's why we see provocative commentaries on social media and headlines, even some equating it as a war drumming, of Ethiopia against Eritrea. But is it so? I mean, is the statement really that's what it meant? I would like to answer it, from my understanding. I don't think so. Why? Because, first of all, as we all remember, Prime Minister Abiy came to office 5 years ago, in 2018. Now, in that, one of the things that he did was that he did this game changer rapprochement with Eritrea. He initiated the peace, to make peace. He reached out to Eritrea, basically. Another thing is, again, related to that initiative of peace with Eritrea that got him the Nobel Peace Prize, and then also, which he mentioned during that rewarding, this is also dedicated to the president of Isaias Afwerki, without him, in which this peace agreement would not have been possible. Now, there is also this peace agreement. In this peace agreement, there was a use of port for Ethiopia. Now there was a partnership, Ethiopia and Eritrea, to partner on economic initiatives to boost reconciliation. And that's how the talk of port came out. But what is lacking was, of course, we don't know details. And if this talk or this agreement pertaining to the port of Assab really advanced in the past 5 years. Was it advanced? We don't know. Maybe it did, and it was not clear for the public. Now, why do I give it for a benefit of a doubt that maybe his statement can be directed at Eritrea? It's only because it lacks, that details of this. For example, the two countries partnering in economic development, and including for Ethiopia to use Port Assab or Assab Port, that didn't develop. And that may be also, again, because the country have, Ethiopia has a number of conflicts and wars. There was a war in the northern part of Ethiopia in Tigray for 2 years, that is from 2020 to 2022. And there's a conflict now in Amhara region. There's an ongoing thing by in the Oromia region, also Shane. I mean, the country has been restless. Maybe that is the reason that this was not advanced. I don't know. But unless it was, unless it is made clear by the government that there is no way we will know about it, we will only be speculating, and that is not really helpful to have a peace talk. We will just be speculation, and social, how social media is now. Related to his statement, what we have read from the government of Eritrea is the tweet. It was on a Twitter, but also from the Minister of Information. It reads as follows. Now, discourses, both actual and presumed, on water, access to the sea, and related topics floated in the recent times are numerous and excessive indeed. The affair has perplexed all concerned observers. In the event, the government of Eritrea repeatedly reiterates that it will not, as ever, be drawn into such allies and platforms. The government of Eritrea further urges all concerned not to be provoked by these events. Now, if you ask me about this statement from the government of Eritrea, I think it's mature in a way that it's not offensive, neither to the people of Ethiopia nor to the government. It's a well-crafted, a very careful statement that kind of aimed at in de-escalating the situation. That's how I see it. Okay. Now, why a sea is a priority for Ethiopia, or if you wish, as the Prime Minister put it, why it is access to the sea is a matter of existence for Ethiopia. Now, let's look at this. Now, so just let's go this. So these are the things that I have said before. This has a number of conflicts and wars that the country have been in the past half a decade. We can say 5 years. It has been restless. Maybe this is the reason why it is not advanced. Now, this is the only statement that we saw from the government of Eritrea. And as I said, it's kind of, I think it contributes, or it's aimed at in de-escalating what is going on, on social media, of all those provocative commentaries on the issue. Now, the way for Ethiopia, why it is a priority now, it's from my own understanding. I'm trying to put a perspective around this. Now, Ethiopia is a country which is landlocked. There are 16 countries which are landlocked in Africa, and Ethiopia is one of them. But in the world, Ethiopia is one of the most populous landlocked country in the world, and its population currently it's above, I think, 125, and some say 127, but let's just put it above 120 million, and it's projected to be around 200 or just above 200 million in 2050. Now, for a country to rely on renting a port like it does now, a port of renting port of Djibouti port, and it will be it's kind of hard, and to rely its economy on renting ports from other countries in the region. But then why there are other options, as we know, the port of Djibouti, for example. Let's look at, I mean, in the past 5 years, we have heard the talk, okay, there's the Assab port after the Ethiopia and Eritrea made peace to resume to use the Assab port. And then there's currently the country is using Djibouti port. The prime minister also met President Ruto and also the former president Kenyatta to use, the Lamu port in Kenya, and then the Berbera port in Somaliland. Okay, all this we have seen, but we don't know the developments and the reasons. But I'm going to go and not suggest really, as per my reading, maybe why those ports have not become fruitful, and then why now the prime minister is talking about the country have to have an access to the sea. Okay, let's look at port of Djibouti. Okay, what is wrong with port of Djibouti? Now, if you know, the cost of the port of Djibouti, its cost per year, it costs Ethiopia $2 billion per year. Now, for a country, like Ethiopia, that's a very huge amount. It's like a burdensome for this developing country, and especially as it tries, to recover from the past 2 years war, where there were so many sanctions that it has applied on the country. The other thing, for example, if you look at economically, just to give it a perspective, again, I'm trying to contribute from where it comes from, because commenting these negative things and going on the social media, beating a drum of war, I mean, that doesn't really contribute. If we really want to contribute positively, then let's look at some facts. Again, Ethiopia, it has China's $4 billion, the Djibouti Addis Ababa Railway, which is part of the Belt and Road Initiative flagship project in the Horn of Africa for China. And now it is struggling to reach its full potential. Now, another thing is there's 13.7 billions of dollars debt that the country owes to China, meaning Ethiopia, owing to China. Okay, now actually this has been made a debt restructure, and payment is suspended up until 2024. I think in the summer 2024, July 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Now, all this added up, burdens of debt and high port fees of Djibouti, Ethiopia is now forced to look for alternatives. Okay, this is my understanding. Now, let's talk about then the Lamu port that came to, that we have heard about. Some of them, they just make a headline and we haven't seen an advancement, and we just wonder why. The reason is this is the Lamu port. Now, to be exact, the Lamu port, it has this corridor that connects Kenya, Ethiopia, and then South Sudan. It's called the Lapset corridor. Now, why that is not working, why that's not an option, and why the government or the prime minister is talking in such a way. Again, I'm going as per my own reading. This is what I think. Now, the port of the Lamu port, we all, remember Prime Minister Abiy has brought up this into with the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, and then now also with President Ruto. Then why Ethiopia lost interest in this? Then maybe because, again, it's as per my, I like how I say as per my reading, because it's really helpful for me. Then there are a number of things that I may not be able to cover, so you are allowed to go and bring, if there is anything that came out or you found out in your reading, then you can share in the comment section. But me, this is what I think, because we have seen Kenya that it was kind of sympathetic to the government opponent during the wartime to TPLF in the last, although now Ethiopia and TPLF has made peace. Then another thing why it might has lost interest could be the Lamu port South Sudan Ethiopia, that is the Lapset corridor, which I showed you. What you see in the map is closest to it is in juxtaposition to Somalia, and this makes it vulnerable to security threats. Okay, this is my analysis again. Now, there's a rail plan of the corridor, of this Lapset corridor, which made a progress in implementing, but the project of the port seems not to be fully to be, to rely on. Now, Somalia is not fully stable, let's say. Right now there is the issue of Al-Shabaab security wise. In addition, there's the past history, where Ethiopia is seen. We all have, that infamous part of our history in 2008, 2011 of the war against Somalia. So there is that lingering animosity in some Somalis. So that also could be, I don't know, an issue. Now, if Ethiopia is pressed to choose between, the above two, meaning the Kenya's Lamu port and the very expensive port Djibouti, I think Ethiopia will go for the better choice, which could be the port of the Berbera port in Somaliland, but again, which we also have read that Ethiopia bought 15% or something. So Ethiopia has made some kind of investment, but much of it is run is by the United Arab Emirates there. Now, why this is not advanced? Again, as per my reading, this is what I think. Now, Somaliland it's a self-governing state. It's not a sovereign state. So universally, it is still known as part of Somalia. Now, both Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates are interested in this. In fact, the United Arab Emirates took control of the Berbera port since 2017. Now, they opened an economic zone, also finished its bigger amount, around more than 360 million expansion project it has done, which work to Ethiopia's, geo-economic benefit by facilitating access to the sea. The Berbera corridor that they are working on implementing can peacefully resolve Ethiopia's maritime dilemma in the absence of a breakthrough, of course, to use the port of Assab, or the Assab port in Eritrea. Now, the United Arab Emirates has an interest in helping its strategic Ethiopian partners tap into their promising geo-economic potential. So it will probably ensure that costs remain much lower than those that I presented to you above. Djibouti, the port of Djibouti, and then the Lamu port. But of course, for this to happen, Somaliland, first of all, must agree itself, to let Ethiopia to access the sea, and also as we see in some other countries experience, when the landlocked countries get an access to the sea, in the neighboring country, maybe something has to be done in return. It could be a land, it could be a share of something, I don't know, but did they agree on that? I have no idea. I don't know about the details. But then the downside could be Somalia, then Somalia, the one, the sovereign country, Somalia, could accuse Ethiopia for meddling in its internal affairs, for using Port of Berbera. That means Ethiopia is then recognizing Somaliland, and this it cannot just be limited in the region. This could play a bigger role against Ethiopia, for those, when Somalia accuses Ethiopia, then it goes to on international level, and then those international who want us really to dig conflicts between. We have seen so much of a divide and rule mechanism by the imperialists, so that can be used to play against Ethiopia. So Ethiopia has to be careful. Now, so what is the best scenario for Ethiopia if all this is not working out? What are the options? In the absence of any details from both governments and from Ethiopia and Eritrea, if this really is something meant about it? I think this is what I think. Now Ethiopia has become it's a new member of BRICS. Okay, it has been accepted in August amongst other 7 countries that were newly added into the membership of BRICS. And also Eritrea, even if it's not a member of BRICS, it has its close relationship with the core members or the founders, which is Russia, China, India also. And then we have the newly added ones, the United Arab Emirates, and maybe these countries can mediate because this BRICS is so much about that economic partnership, or the geopolitics, the geo-economic partnership. So it can play a role, to to help Ethiopia and also Eritrea, ultimately to reach their goal, because their national interest, both of them, something that we cannot make a mistake, is that for both countries, it relies so much on of accessing on the having this access for their economic development. So it's not something that we just put aside. So maybe I think BRICS can advance the conversation and help these countries, meaning if Ethiopia may need to take some, Ethiopia for both and Eritrea to mediate between the two. Now, I have a question for you, meaning, now, however, now, if this is not possible now, first of all, to get the port of Asab access, if that's not working for whatever reason, then Ethiopia may need to take some risk and close the deal with Somaliland in Berbera. I don't know, or maybe the government is thinking totally outside of this. In any case, now in search of alternative to replace the high port fee of Djibouti, we have observed in the past 5 years that Ethiopia expressed its interest in the Asa port, the Lamu port, the Berbera port in Somaliland. Now, the prime minister also have talked, to the respective governments. So when now the Prime Minister Abiy says access to the sea is a matter of existence, is this about these ports? Is it out of all this? It's something new. So then, how is it going to be achieved? Maybe these things should be clear. Now, in order to decrease the high fee of port rents or even access to the sea in a land that's already part of another sovereign country, is the government considering in exchange to do something what Ethiopia can offer to those, to the port owner countries? Is what Ethiopia trying to do is meaning having an access to the sea? Is it something for a landlocked country? Is it something practiced internationally? We need to look at the experiences of landlocked countries which got access to the sea. Ethiopia is not the first one, but how is it done? Also, we can look at it from the Africa perspective, and then those kind of discourse, those kind of discussion can help us to bring us, to think positively. That is what I think. Now, above all, also we need to think what Ethiopia is going to do, meaning having access to the sea in whatever way. Is it good for the region in the Horn of Africa or in Eastern Africa? Because ultimately we need to have peace, and that's the only way also we can reap the fruit of the economic development of the country. So now, with all these questions, I leave you, and while you go ahead and share with us your view in the comment section here at Connect Africa, I promise, or I do my best to bring analysts from both Ethiopia and Eritrea, who can help us to advance a positive discourse around this, and and to answer some of the questions that we have. And I personally also bring you how this is seen from an African perspective, as from a Pan-African perspective. So that was it for me for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please go ahead, and share your view to the questions that I forwarded to you. So I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, and thank you very much again for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you like what we bring you, give it a like, and also share it with others. Thank you all for tuning in. Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.